most disturbing sound in the archival recordings of the Abaddon Hotel incident is not the screaming on the final night. It is the nervous laughter of the Hell House crew in the weeks prior. It's the sound of men trying to rationalize what their own cameras were telling them, that the hotel had already begun its hunt, and they had catastrophically failed to see it. File reference number 89/OBP, Operational Breach Protocol. Case designation, the Abaddon Anomaly. This is the official designation within the Contour Division archives for the event publicly known as the Hell House LLC tragedy. The public-facing narrative, disseminated through a carefully edited, found footage film, speaks of an unknown malfunction leading to 15 fatalities on October 8, 2009. This narrative is a fabrication, a Level 4 information smokescreen designed to sanitize a deeply unsettling truth. The truth is that the Abaddon Hotel was not merely an abandoned building, it was a known, albeit low priority, anomalous containment zone. The tragedy was not a supernatural attack, but a textbook case of catastrophic operational failure. A private civilian team, Hell House LLC, driven by commercial interests, bypassed every established safety protocol for operating within an active ACZ. They were not victims of a haunting. They were the architects of their own demise, a demise precipitated by a cascade of ignorance, arrogance, and a fundamental misunderstanding of the environment they had chosen as their stage. This report is a post-mortem audit of that failure, a step-by-step deconstruction of the errors that turned a commercial Halloween attraction into a containment breach and a slaughterhouse. It serves as a mandatory training module for all Contour Division field agents. Its lesson is brutal and unambiguous. The most dangerous entity in any anomalous zone is often not the anomaly itself, but the human factor that underestimates it. The chain of failure begins with the most fundamental breach of protocol, Phase 0, inadequate intelligence and reconnaissance. Contour Protocol 7.1 dictates that any potential operational site must undergo a rigorous background check for prior anomalous indicators. The Hell House LLC team's due diligence was, to be blunt, non-existent. The history of the Abaddon Hotel was public record. Its former owner, Andrew Tully, was a documented cult leader who had committed suicide within the hotel following the disappearance of several guests. The hotel's subsequent abandonment and local folklore should have constituted a red flag intelligence packet, immediately disqualifying the location for any civilian enterprise. Instead, the Hell House team viewed this dark history not as a dire warning, but as a marketable feature, a prepackaged backstory for their attraction. This was their first and most critical error. They mistook an active predator's den for an empty stage with character. The second failure, Phase 1, gross misidentification and contamination of artifacts, occurred upon site entry. During their initial sweep, the team discovered the previous cult's sanctum in the basement, complete with ritualistic symbols and desecrated texts. A standard hazmat, hazardous anomaly theory and material, protocol would mandate immediate withdrawal and reporting. Alex Taylor, the group's leader, made the decision to incorporate these elements into the attraction's design. This act escalated from negligence to active contamination. However, the most severe breach within this phase was the handling of what our archives classify as Class 3 static observational artifacts, the clown mannequins.
These were not hotel props. Our cross-referenced files from the Carmichael Manor incident confirm these artifacts originated from a 1970s traveling carnival used by Tully as a recruitment ground. These are not merely haunted objects, they are believed to be complex psychotronic anchors, non-moving physical conduits that allow a non-corporeal intelligence to observe and subtly manipulate three-dimensional space. Their primary anomalous property is their ability to relocate outside of direct observation, exploiting the psychic blindness of the human eye and the refresh rate of cameras. This creates profound psychological distress in observers, a slow-burning erosion of their trust in their own perception. The Hell House team found these artifacts, and, instead of securing and isolating them, they assigned them starring roles in their show. They placed hostile surveillance devices in the path of the public. This leads directly to the third and longest phase of the failure cascade. Phase 2, normalization of deviant phenomena and cognitive dissonance. Over the next several weeks, the team's own cameras documented escalating anomalous activity. An artifact placed on the first floor is later found on the second. A mannequin's head is recorded slowly turning to face a crew member. The faint sound of a female voice is captured in a room known to be empty. Each event documented on tape is met not with alarm, but with nervous laughter, accusations of pranks, and strained rationalizations. This is a classic example of normalcy bias under high-stress conditions. The team was so psychologically and financially invested in the project's success that their brains actively rejected and reframed any evidence that threatened it. The entity, or intelligence, tied to the hotel and its artifacts recognized this weakness. It escalated its actions from subtle observation to direct, personalized interaction. The footage of a bedsheet slowly rising to form a seated human figure in Paul O'Keefe's room was not a spooky event. It was a calculated test of the team's resolve. By failing to evacuate after this clear demonstration of power, the team communicated a message to the entity. They were not a threat, they were not leaving, and they were willing to tolerate its presence. They effectively gave it permission to continue its escalating pattern of behavior. The human mind's capacity for denial became the anomaly's greatest weapon. The final fatal error was one of environmental engineering. Phase 3, uncontrolled generation of psycho-emotional energy. A core hypothesis in Contour's study of such entities is that they are drawn to, and perhaps feed on, concentrated human emotion, particularly fear and terror. The business model of Hell House LLC was therefore an act of supreme, albeit unintentional, provocation. They designed and built a machine whose sole purpose was to generate industrial quantities of raw fear in a controlled space. By funneling hundreds of paying customers through a series of terrifying scenarios, they were not creating entertainment, they were preparing a feast. On opening night, they planned to throw the switch on a psycho-emotional reactor, with the Class 3 artifacts placed at its very core to act as amplifiers. It was an invitation for the Abaddon anomaly to emerge from the shadows and take center stage. October 8th, 2009. The attraction opens. The system goes critical. The cascading failure reaches its violent, inevitable conclusion. The first groups of visitors enter, their nervous energy and manufactured screams acting as the final catalyst. The ambient psycho-emotional energy within the hotel spikes beyond any measurable threshold. The anomaly, which had until now operated with a degree of subtlety, was granted an overwhelming power source. The found footage from this period is a chaotic mosaic of system-wide collapse. The carefully planned scares are superseded by genuine, uncontrolled terror. An actress in the basement, meant to be part of a satanic ritual scene, vanishes from her post. Lights flicker and die, replaced by the disorienting, rhythmic pulse of emergency strobes that fracture reality into a series of horrifying stop-motion tableaux. In these brief flashes of light, new figures are seen among the panicked crowds, figures that do not belong, that do not move like people, that wear the static, smiling faces of the clown artifacts. Panic becomes a contagion. The distinction between performer and patron dissolves. One of the Hell House crewmembers in a clown costume is seen on camera attacking a visitor, but his movements are disjointed, unnaturally fluid. The audio logs from the crew's comm system descend into a storm of static, punctuated by screams and fragmented warnings. "It's in here with us," one voice shouts. "The door won't open. I can't get the door open," another screams. The architecture of the building itself seems to turn against them, a common manifestation in advanced stage hauntings. The trap they built for their customers has now sprung on them. The final coherent footage comes from the camera of Sarah Havel, the sole survivor. It shows her desperate retreat into the basement, the very heart of the anomaly. The images are a blur of motion, darkness, and the piercing shrieks of others. Unseen things brush past the lens. The static clown mannequins are no longer static. They are glimpsed at the edges of the frame, their positions changing with impossible speed. The footage ends in a cacophony of electronic noise and a final guttural sound that is not human. 15 people were consumed by the machine they had built. Their audit was complete. The official investigation, heavily influenced by Contour assets, ruled the event a tragic accident caused by mass panic and structural failures. The found footage was compiled and released, serving a dual purpose. It satisfied public curiosity while acting as a powerful piece of counter-narrative, branding the Abaddon Hotel as a place of tragedy, not of active, intelligent malevolence. The story of Hell House LLC is a grim testament to a core Contour division principle. An anomaly is a controlled variable until human error enters the equation. Once that happens, all bets are off. The team did not just fail to respect the darkness, they packaged it, promoted it, and sold tickets to it. The price was simply higher than they ever imagined. The signal has faded, but the echo remains. We have presented you with all known facts of this case, but perhaps the most critical pieces of this mosaic were missed even by us. What do you think? What details did you notice? Your theories and observations are the most valuable part of our archive. Leave them below. If you are prepared to keep listening, subscribe. End of transmission.